Welcome back. Some of your critics would say this, and I'm going to give Dr. Ramphela an opportunity because in one of her books I know that she talks about this. Dr. James, you also have a chance. There's an argument that in other countries in Africa they're doing a lot better, that maths and science do better in other countries in Africa, which surely can't be richer or better off than we are. And why is that?
There are quite a number of factors, and that's why we're looking at these international studies. One, for instance, when we got some of the SACMEC results, we compared our schools to Botswana, which is less developed than ourselves, I must assume. We used a province in Botswana, which is very close to our province in Northwest. And sadly enough, we picked up that some of the problems that affect us, it's actually your teacher completion of the curriculum. And that's why the president year on year speaks about teachers on class on time. So we have poor curriculum coverage. That's why we're focusing on that. We had poor coverage around textbook, access to textbooks.
Shocking, yes.
Exactly. I mean,
and how do we know that that's now, in other words,
it's improved.
if I got you back in 2 years' time, it was a mid-year report and we discussed these, how do we know that that will be solved, that we won't have this
It's improved. In 2007, our textbook coverage was at 45%. We did a survey, we're at 90%.
Okay.
So we can assure you that in the less, and I mean our policy, I saw it even in the DA manifesto, a child per book in every learning area. It's a commitment we've made for ourselves as a sector, even outside political parties.
But
so within a year or two, it should be done with that coverage. So we've identified, and that's why I say with 20 years experience, we've identified where the challenges are and we're confronting them.
But do you accept that, in fact, our maths and science literacy rates for a country which, if you look at the National Development Plan, it's critical to our economic growth path, that we are not doing well enough?
Extremely problematic. I mean, if you look at our ANA results for grade 9, they are just completely, I mean, it's really a crisis. That's why the president last year, if you remember the State of the Nation address, called me to have a ministerial committee on maths and science, which I did. We received the report. In 2014, we were setting up a maths office, just a structure that will help us throughout the system. We've identified where the problems are. We've identified what the challenges are. We've put systems in place to deal with those problems. So I agree with you that it is a big crisis.
Dr. James?
I want to go back and say, because education is a provincial competence, you must look at the quality of governance and administration in the provinces. It's really quite central. And where you see the worst performance, you see bad governance, and there are great examples to look at, and sad examples to look at in terms of what needs to be fixed.
Are we doing better than countries of comparable development?
No, we're not.
Why?
We're even a year behind in terms of, we compare ourselves as far as
I want to know your...
Because the most fundamental thing we need to do is to have an excellent teacher in front of the classroom. That is the most fundamental thing we must, and everything else will follow from that.
All right.
And presently we don't have it, partly because we have a president that does not have the will to back up his minister in education.
Yeah?
In terms of making sure
doing what? In terms of doing what? What would you want him to do?
We would want him to make sure that the provinces actually do their job.
Okay.
The provinces do their job, and also that trade unions, in particular SATU, understand this.
All right, I want to move on from that. Dr. Ramphela, I mean, it was from your book that I initially, and then did some more research, looked at the comparables. And we aren't apparently doing as well as other countries in Africa. Why not?
Well, first of all,
just, the minister makes an... Sorry, if I just add to this, I'm sorry. The minister makes the point that there are huge social questions that were inherited that make it very difficult too.
Well, she must then explain why poor kids from Malawi are doing better than poor kids from South Africa. The issue is we have put in layers that are absorbing resources. For example, textbooks. Every principal can sit at his desk and order textbooks, but we've got tenderpreneurs who are delivering textbooks and creating a layer that's absorbing resources. The same thing with feeding. Every system that we have in this country has got a patronage system. That's taking a lot of money. Second, she can't deny the fact that the poor quality of teaching in this country is tolerated because non-performers are protected and the government doesn't have the guts.
But
it's not just, I disagree with Dr. James that it's simply the provinces. It's the rot starts at the top with the president, the minister, and everybody not holding to the requirement that every teacher standing in front of the class must be equipped and competent to teach the subject they're teaching.
But Dr.
Our
James,
tests,
Dr. James,
international texts are showing that our teachers are doing worse than the pupils they're supposed to be teaching.
But Dr. James's point is that under the Constitution, it's a provincial competence. And in fact, we have had... well, hang on. And we've had celebrated cases where the minister, correct me if I'm wrong, actually sought to interfere in the Eastern Cape in order to improve the situation there. I think
And had lots of constitutional problems.
Yeah, I know you had a lot of constitutional problems. And the minister had a lot of constitutional problems. I know that too. So the question is, surely you can't just write the Constitution away. Dr. James is saying there is an issue here of provinces that have to be dealt with.
I agree, but the point is the system in the provinces is a reflection of the political culture of ANC, where a chair of the province feels that he's got power over the MEC and eventually over the minister nationally. That's the system of political patronage that has been cultivated by the ANC. That's the root cause of the problem we're experiencing.
Okay, well, let me just get... sorry, yes, please carry on. I'll give you...
And rumors.
Sorry?
It's just hearsay. Which chairperson? Let's be factual and say what are the issues. But the chairperson, it's rumors and gossips and just stories that she can't substantiate, say what it happened.
Well, there's a real perception out there that's what's happening.
Let's not talk perceptions with people who want to govern. Let's talk about real things. Perceptions are for the public.
Do you accept that in certain provinces, the governance system, Dr. James has made the point too, are not good and they're making your job a lot more difficult?
Exactly, and the reasons are not all rumors and gossip. And that's why in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, we had to intervene because there were problems. We identified what the problems were, and they had nothing to do with the president, the minister, and all the rumors about what ANC and the alliance is doing or not doing.
I'm running out of time. I have to ask you this, and I want a response from also. The Archbishop Tutu, now, amongst others, not the first one, has raised this question of the 30%. How can we possibly be satisfied with a 30% pass rate? That it's an insult. He made the point.
It has suddenly become an insult. He must go and look at his certificate and check if there was never 30%. And if you look at this as matric pass, Judge, less than, when we say 78.2%, it's 0.5% that have passed the 30%. Now to really fail to celebrate the 78.2,
well, how much would it have been and if we had a 50% pass rate?
It would still remain 78. If that 30% was not there.
How do you work that out?
Even if that 30% was not there, we'll still remain with 78.2%. I'll give you the statistics which show how many kids. That's why I say it's just a hype that people want to do. It's not real. And to respond without being defensive, I've set up a commission. Let them be patient from Bishop to everybody. The commission will come up in April and really put the matter to rest.
Fine. I want to give you, yes, please, briefly.
Let me just start by saying that an education economist, Safas van der Berg from the University of Stellenbosch, has done some serious empirical work. And there's no question that educational quality is linked to solving the problem of income inequality in this country. So nothing more fundamental than getting the educational quality side right. Quantitative side, in some ways, when you look at the number of kids at school, the problem has been largely solved in terms of enrollment, but the question is, what is the quality?
Okay.
And so let me just say that when it comes to passing something, what happens in terms of classroom behavior is quite important, that kids must be stretched. They must cognitively be stretched through excellent teaching in the classroom.
What about the 30%?
So I'm coming to the point where
I haven't got time. Just come to
30% is not good enough. Okay. You know, a pass rate in my view,
the minister says actually it's a canard. Very few people are doing it.
I will not trust a pilot who got 51% in mathematics.
So finally, Dr. Mamphele, what do you say about the 30%? And that actually, we're making a fuss about nothing because actually it's not a lot of people.
They hardly make a percentage.
The fact of the matter is that the 30% was set by a government that has no confidence that black people are as smart as anybody else. It is an insult on our children. And I believe that our children are as smart as anybody. We should have a minimum pass rate of 50%, But if we really want to focus on excellent, our children are capable of performing at the 70 plus, but the teacher, the quality of your teacher is what determines the quality of your education.
I've run out of time.
That's what we need to have the
I've run out of
courage
time.
to tackle.
I apologize to all three of you. Done the best I can in a short time. I hope we can get you back, because this is too big an issue to have a half an hour, and I really mean it. And the public needs to debate these questions, because there is, we can make a couple of axiomatic remarks that everybody must accept. Education is key. It is key to both the dignity of each person in this country. It's key to economic growth. It's key to having the kind of South African community that was promised in our Constitution. We've heard a lot of debate about the problems, about attempted solutions. How do you assess that? Judge for yourself. Goodbye.